Have you ever whispered a question into the silence? And then something strange happened. A song lyric that answered your thought. A stranger who said exactly what you needed to hear. A symbol you kept seeing over and over. Coincidence? That's what they want you to believe. But the truth is, the universe is always listening. Not just to your words, but to your state, to your intention, to the frequency behind the noise. And yes, you can talk to the universe, but not the way you talk to people. Not with grammar and logic, but with energy, alignment, and clarity. The universe isn't a vending machine. You don't insert a wish and wait for it to deliver. It's a living intelligence, subtle, ancient, deeply aware. It doesn't speak English. It speaks resonance. And when you learn to tune your signal, to send a clear transmission instead of a desperate plea, that's when the universe answers. And not just with signs, but with synchronicity, shifts, and a sense of inner knowing that changes everything. Before we dive into the 5 ways, you need to understand this. You're already communicating with the universe, whether you know it or not. Every thought you repeat, every emotion you cling to, every belief you hold deep inside is a broadcast. You're like a transmitter, constantly sending out signals into the quantum field. But most people are unaware of what they're sending. They think they're asking for peace, but they're vibrating anxiety. They think they're calling in abundance, but they're tuned to lack. And here's the secret. The universe doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you are. So if you want real answers, if you want actual conversation with the cosmos, you have to become clear, coherent, honest. Because a scattered mind sends scattered signals, and the universe mirrors your signal, not your words. That's why these 5 ways aren't rituals. They're reminders of how to remember your power and speak in the only language the universe understands. Frequency. Way 1. Ask with alignment, not desperation. Most people ask the universe from a place of fear. They beg, they plead, they bargain. But that's not a request. It's a frequency of lack. Imagine 2 people sending out a message. One from panic, one from peace. Same words, different signal. Which one gets heard? The universe doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to coherence. So the first real way to speak to the universe is this. Align before you ask. Breathe. Get still. Find the version of you that already knows it's supported. And from that place, ask, not as a victim, but as a co-creator. Speak your question in the silence, not out loud, through your energy. Feel what you're asking. See it. Mean it. Let your whole being become the question. Because when you speak from alignment, your signal becomes clear. And a clear signal always gets a response. Way 2. Listen without controlling the answer. The universe always responds, but most people miss it, not because the signal isn't there, but because they're too busy deciding what the answer should look like. You ask for guidance and expect it to come as a perfect sentence in your preferred language on your timeline. But the universe doesn't speak in subtitles. It speaks in symbols, patterns, feelings, gut pulls, repetitions. You want a voice, it gives you a moment. You want a sign, it sends you a silence that feels different. You want certainty, it gives you a doorway and waits to see if you trust it enough to walk through. So the second real way to speak to the universe is this. Ask, and then get quiet. Watch the world. Feel into moments. Let yourself notice instead of decide. Because if you're trying to force the answer, you're not open. You're still talking. And conversation only begins when you're willing to listen. Way 3. Speak through feeling, not just thought. Most people think they need the perfect words to reach the universe. But words are slow. They're surface level. And the universe listens beneath the surface. Your thoughts are signals, yes, but your feelings are amplifiers. They carry charge. They shape the energy behind your request. This is why affirmations often fail. It's not the sentence that matters. It's the state behind it. You can say, "I trust the universe 1,000 times." But if you're vibrating fear, the universe will answer that. So the third way to speak is this. Feel the energy of what you're asking. Don't just think about what you want. Step into the emotion of already having it. If you seek clarity, feel stillness. If you seek abundance, feel gratitude. If you seek love, feel wholeness. The universe doesn't need your grammar. It needs your truth, your felt truth, because that's where your real signal lives. Not in what you say, but in what you vibrate. Way 4. Use symbols and rituals to speak beyond the mind. The universe doesn't just understand language, it responds to meaning. And meaning can be encoded in action, in symbol, in sacred repetition. That's why ancient cultures used ritual, why they painted symbols, lit candles, poured water, moved their bodies with intention, because they knew, when the conscious mind steps aside, the field begins to listen. So the fourth way to speak is this. Use symbolic action to transmit your message. Not because the universe needs it, but because you do. When you light a candle with an intention, when you write a letter to the cosmos and burn it, when you walk in silence with a question in your heart, you're not just performing a ritual. You're aligning your whole being into a single signal. Your body becomes part of the conversation. Your breath becomes the carrier of meaning. Your focus becomes the bridge between thought and form. Symbols are shortcuts. They bypass logic and speak directly to the deeper layers of reality. So don't just speak with your mouth. Speak with your movement, your choices, your presence. Because every sacred act is a sentence the universe understands fluently. Way 5. Trust the echo, not the echo chamber. Here's the part most people miss. You already got your answer, but it didn't come in the form you expected, so you ignored it. The universe rarely responds with fireworks. It responds with echoes, soft ripples, moments of alignment, that inner nudge that keeps showing up. But we've been trained to second guess, to check with others, to look for external confirmation before we trust what we felt. So we silence the whisper because it's not loud enough. The fifth way to speak to the universe is this. When the message comes, honor it. Even if it's subtle, even if no one else sees it. Act on that knowing. Follow the pull. Take the step that makes no sense on paper, but feels right in your soul. Because response is a loop. The more you honor the small signals, the clearer and louder they become. But the more you ignore them, the quieter the universe gets. It's not punishing you. It's just waiting for you to listen with trust, not just with ears. Talking to the universe isn't a technique. It's a relationship, not one built on control, but on clarity. Not about manipulating outcomes, but aligning with truth. You don't need to beg for signs. You are the sign. Your clarity is the signal. Your presence is the prayer. And when you remember that, you stop chasing answers and start embodying receptivity. You walk with a question, but not with anxiety. You live in wonder, but not in waiting. Because you know you're part of something intelligent, not random, not accidental, alive. This field around you, it listens, not to your performance, but to your frequency. And the more you communicate with presence, with stillness, with honesty, the more this universe responds like a mirror, bending reality around the shape of your awareness. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. The universe doesn't want performance. It wants presence. Now you know. The universe has never been silent, only subtle. Never absent, only patient. And the moment you begin listening differently, you realize it's been answering you all along. Every question you've asked in stillness, every prayer you whispered in the dark, every intention you carried in your chest, none of it was lost. It echoed, it rippled, it shaped the field around you. Not always the way you wanted, but always the way you needed. Because the universe doesn't give you what your ego demands. It mirrors what your soul is ready to receive. So now, the real invitation isn't just to talk, it's to attune, to become a clearer signal, to live in a state of listening, to drop the noise and walk with trust. Because when you stop begging for signs and start being the signal, everything changes. The people shift, the opportunities align, the patterns reorganize. Not because you forced them, but because you finally remembered. The universe doesn't speak in words. It speaks in you.